a Wellness Center, and this video we are addressing our change in weather. We've seen this beautiful fall weather creeping in now. The temperatures change, the leaves are dropping, but unfortunately for some people that also means the moods are dropping. This is something called your winter blues or your seasonal affective disorder. SAD. You may have heard of that, right? People get affected by the change in season and they end up getting a little depressed or some sadness that comes along with it. So what exactly is causing all this stuff? I'll show you 5 reasons you might not know that may be causing your seasonal affective disorder, and I'll show you what you can do for each one of these. So let's talk about all this winter blues, right? So some people brush it off as just, having the blues in the winter months and thinking that, yeah, it's going to change and so I'm okay. Well, for a lot of people, these things lead to a lot of things that can cause all sorts of issues in their bodies. Seasonal affective disorder is a term that's coined or is something that happens to a lot of people between the months of October through, say, April to May. That's when, the leaves come back and the sunlight is much more longer. So that's the big thing. With fall, the sunlight or the days shorten. So the amount of sunlight that we are seeing or the amount of brightness that our brain is perceiving shortens. Now, this is one of the big reasons for the cause of your seasonal affective disorder. Because we all know we need sunshine, we need a lot of these things to survive. So the first thing that this shortened sunlight affects, and the 5 things that I was going to talk about, the first thing that this thing affects is something called our circadian rhythm. Our circadian rhythm is your body's sleep-wake cycle. This means, we produce certain hormones to help your body sleep. That's melatonin, and then there's cortisol, not just a stress hormone. Cortisol also tells your body to wake up and do what it's supposed to do. Now, with the days getting shorter and the darker periods getting longer, what's happening? Your body's producing more melatonin. So that little rhythm kind of offsets. And that's one of the big reasons why on cold mornings and when it's still kind of dark outside, nobody wants to creep out of their nice comfy beds and you want to sleep a little longer, right? So that's one of the big things is your melatonin cortisol levels have kind of switched. To correct that, now we actually test for some of these things. We need to make sure that your body's in that perfect rhythm. Yes, there's not enough sunlight, but there's a way to kind of help make sure your body gets back to that normal rhythm. We do measure melatonin and cortisol levels to show you which and where we can correct some of these. But a simple fix for this thing is using a broad spectrum light. You can buy some of these things online. It's called a broad spectrum light, and it should have about 10,000 lux. That is the measure of the brightness of some of these bulbs. So sitting in front of a bright light for about 20 to 30 minutes in the morning especially. You want to do this in the morning because that's what will wake your brain up, because it'll see brighter light, which triggers your melatonin levels to slow down and cortisol levels to come up. So 20 to 30 minutes in front of a bright, broad, full spectrum light will help kind of control some of that. Now, number 2 that kind of affects some of this thing is our serotonin levels. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that's found in the brain. This is also one of those things which is our mood elevator. It helps correct your moods or elevate your moods. It also helps curb certain cravings, but it also helps you, fight off certain food cravings and things that way. Now, what happens again with lower levels of serotonin with our, our diets and all that? Because again, that's one big reason what happens in the winter months is people reach for the comfort foods, your high carb foods, your breads, your pastas, refined carbs, those kind of things. Those things actually deprive our body of or make your body not absorb certain vitamins the right way. Vitamin B3 is one of the biggest one that is required or is a precursor for the formation of serotonin. Again, this all comes back to our gut. We know the gut is the second brain, right? And I've also mentioned that serotonin, 70% of serotonin, even though it's required or the main function is in the brain, is produced in your stomach or in your gut. So again, with some of these leaky gut issues, or if you're putting too much refined carbs and stuff in our diets, that causes our gut to not work the way it should and causes mineral or vitamin deficiencies. Now again, as I said, B3 is one of the big ones that's required to form serotonin, and the biggest thing is when you have a lot of these carbs and refined foods and stuff, it makes you not absorb B3 as well as you should, and you end up with lower levels of serotonin in your brain. Number 3 is, of course, our sunshine vitamin, vitamin D. Right? Yes, the period of sunshine has shortened, and we're not seeing the sun as much because it's cloudy and gloomy and snowy or rainy. So what happens is our vitamin D levels go down. The biggest and the best source of vitamin D is sunshine. You sit out in the sun, you get a little bit of vitamin D directly on your skin. Your sunshine on your skin, and your body makes vitamin D. Now, 50 to 60% of the population is actually deficient in vitamin D already. We all know that, and that's one of the reasons why they're fortifying milks and orange juices with vitamin D to give us enough vitamin D. They know vitamin D is not just good for helping your bones in growth. Vitamin D is a prohormone, which means it helps formation of a lot of hormones in the body. Vitamin D also controls a lot of the circadian rhythms and stuff that we just mentioned. Vitamin D again is required for the synthesis of serotonin and dopamine, neurotransmitters that are found in the brain. It also is required because it actually makes certain receptors in the brain more sensitive to your serotonin and dopamine. So when you have less vitamin D, you're not getting enough serotonin, of course, being made, but you're also not getting enough serotonin and dopamine getting attached to the right receptors. And what happens? Well, our brain suffers and a lot of things suffer, and that causes mood changes. That was number 3. Number 4 is people with hypothyroidism. Now, it's unfortunate to hear that about 1 in 8 women have some form of low functioning thyroid, right? Now, one of the side effects, one of the symptoms of thyroid or hypothyroidism is depression. Again, what happens is when you have hypothyroid conditions going on as you move into these winter months or the colder months, your depression kind of gets exaggerated, or it makes it even worse because of the seasonal changes and all that. So the first thing we always suggest is women that are having any of these fatigue issues or feel depressed and all that, have your hormone levels checked, have your thyroid levels checked. There's a lot of different tests that we can do to find out exactly where your thyroid is dysfunctioning. If you correct some of that, your adrenals function as well, your ovaries and all those things function together. Find out what this thing is. We can actually help correct or help relieve some of the symptoms of your depression from there. And number 5 is something very interesting. This is eating high protein and high fat foods. Yes, we talked about how some of these winter months make you crave carbs. Now, carbs are, yes, they're good for certain energy production, but they're not good. Some of the carbs we're eating are not good for our bodies. What our body needs is a high quality protein. Most of the neurotransmitters in our brain are formed by amino acids. Amino acids are building blocks of neurotransmitters. So for serotonin, there's something called L-tryptophan. You may have heard of L-tryptophan. A lot of L-tryptophan is converted by the use of vitamin B3, which I mentioned that you need, into serotonin. So if you don't have any of these things in our bodies, we suffer. The other one for dopamine is something called tyrosine. Tyrosine is another amino acid. Now, most of these amino acids are what we call essential amino acids, which means we get them from our diet. Our body is not producing these. Now, if your body or your diet is lacking in some of these, your neurotransmitters levels go down. So eating good quality grass-fed meats, good organic eggs or something that way will give you enough protein or building blocks, these amino acids, to help form some of these. And when we come down to the good fats, we know fish oils and all these things are wonderful. They're amazing. They have tons of different good properties to them. One of the biggest thing is fish oil actually helps your brain not just elevate the moods, but it helps your brain function better. 70 to 80% of your brain is fat. That's a fact. That's how it is made. Your brain is fat. So we need some of the good fats, the omega-3s and omega-6s and all these good guys, to help you make the brain function better. And that's one of the big reasons why they say when you take fish oil, it actually helps elevate your moods. So try a little bit of fish oil. I suggest about 2,000 to 3,000 milligrams of fish oil a day to help just kind of balance some of these mood issues. And for vitamin D, I forgot to mention a bit of that. In the winter months, you can go up to 4,000 to 5,000 IUs, that's international units, a day, to help maintain enough vitamin D levels in your body, because again, nobody's sitting outside in the sun at that time, to help your body function the way it should and have enough vitamin D. So I hope some of this information has helped you. And again, if you're one of those people that suffer with some of these seasonal affective problems, where the weather changes and your mood changes, well, try some of these things I suggested. See what's going on, and I promise you it'll help you make a much better winter, or make you help your seasons change much better. So hope this information helps you, and if it has, please share this information with people. And again, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.